recording. Hi Kylie, it's been a week since we last spoke. How have you been doing?
Pretty good. I feel like all the stuff we talked about last week, kind of like my practicum and kind of like figuring out what I want to do, has been going pretty well. I just like, kind of just like with being new to Vancouver, I don't know, I had like a weird moment and I just like had this kind of like freak out where I like did not want to leave the house on like Wednesday. I like felt like I couldn't do it. And then I like spent all morning like just trying to get ready and like prep myself, and then like I got there and it was fine, but I just like it was just really kind of strange, and now I'm just like almost worried that it's gonna like happen again, and I don't really know. I feel like it kind of just was out of the blue, so I don't know.
Okay, so um, do you mind? I'm just gonna take notes while we talk. But what I'm hearing from you is that you had an okay week, but there definitely was something that triggered you not to want to go out. How does
Hmm.
that? I guess how does that feel now towards it being the end of the week?
Um, that's a good question. I'm feeling like a little bit better. I just like almost am like not excited for, because I had a good weekend and stuff because I was surrounded by people all weekend, and then I just am like not feeling like I want to be alone all week, and I do spend a lot of time alone during the week because like I don't know that many people here yet, and my schedule is so opposite of everyone. I don't start practicum. I do it 3 days a week, and I don't start till 1:30. So every weekday, I'm like home by myself all day, and I just don't really. I just am feeling like I'm kind of dreading that almost.
Yeah. So it sounds like your schedule in terms of practicum definitely influences your time for socializing and getting out there in terms of because you're new to Vancouver. Um,
Yeah,
so how has
totally.
that been? Pardon? Sorry.
No, no, no. I just said totally. You go ahead.
I guess what I was wondering is how has that been, with the difficulty with the time, how has that made things in terms of social relationships? You mentioned that you live with Nick and your family's on the island.
Yeah, I guess it is definitely like interfering, I think, with that because so like Nick is like so busy with school. Like I don't see him as much as I used to, which is funny because everybody kind of told me before we move in, like when you guys move in together, like you hang out a whole lot less. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. Blah, blah. But it's so true. Like, so when he gets home and I'm still at practicum, I'm just like, oh, I just want to get home because I feel like I haven't seen him in like 3 days or something. And then if somebody asks me to like hang out on the weekends, I just feel like, well, I would, but I also feel like I don't know, I never get to see my boyfriend, so I also kind of like want to do that. I just feel like it's in Victoria, we shared all of our friends and stuff, and so I didn't ever feel like I was being pulled in two directions, but now I feel like very much just because we're both so new, like we have very separate lives at the moment, and I just feel like a pull between both because I obviously want to make new friends, but I obviously like want to spend time with Nick when I can as well.
So, is what I'm hearing is that you're definitely at a like almost like a crossroad of how to navigate your time. And I guess what I'm hearing is your practicum definitely influences that time in terms of your social life. And moving to Vancouver and not knowing anybody has definitely made it difficult to get out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think I also like I miss hanging out with like all of our friends together and stuff because like we haven't done that in a long time, so I definitely miss that aspect of being at home, because it was like perfect. Or I wish I could have that here because it's like, for lack of a better phrase, killing two birds with one stone, right? Like I get to do both things that I want to do, and no one is kind of getting the shorter end of the stick, you know?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you'd love for what you guys used to do and have in Victoria, and kind of bring it to Vancouver, where you're now currently living. Um, Looking back at last week, we talked about your practicum and how that definitely has been difficult for you, um, in terms of it's this same kind of work that you did in Shawnigan Lake, and you were hoping for something different, and now also adding this week in terms of the times that you are working, it definitely is making placement not look as beneficial or as a positive. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, like tenfold for sure. It's a great practicum in many ways, but it's like the fact that the hours are weird. It's just like one more thing that's like, ugh, like annoying about it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. If we look at your practicum a little closer, especially this week, what would you see? I guess were some positives to your practicum this week.
Yeah. Some good positives. Let's see. I think the kids are absolutely amazing. Like, it's definitely the population that I want to work with. It's like inner city school, or it takes place in an inner city school. And like, I think like 95% of the kids come from indigenous communities. So, and a lot of them are on kind of like poverty scale. So it definitely is a very like a group of kids that really need support and stuff, and I definitely feel like I can be a person to provide that because I have education, and I definitely do feel like it is something I'm good at. So yeah, like I feel the need there, and I do feel like I can provide that. So I think that we talked about last week, like not feeling like needed or whatever. That this week I feel like has definitely been better for that.
Okay, so you talked about feeling needed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
do you find that, I guess, with that feeling of need, especially you felt needed when you were in Shawnigan Lake working for the recreation centers, and then that feeling of need here, is that something that you notice um, is a big part of what makes you, I guess, look forward to certain types of career work, like work that you've done with children?
Yeah, I think maybe it does. Like, I just want to, and I mean, maybe like this is not. I think it's like considered like not a great way to be if you are going into this field, but just in the sense of like I like feeling like the work that I'm doing is really important. And for practicum, because as I mentioned, like I started like as an employee there now, and so they're giving me more responsibilities, and so now I feel like my work is more important because they're not just like asking me to go wash the dishes and stuff, which I know is obviously like a vital part in any sort of placement. Like you have to do all the dirty jobs that no one wants to do,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like now they're maybe putting more trust in me because they can now, like by law they can put more responsibility on me. So in a sense, I feel like that's gotten a lot better.
And what does that sense of, I guess, like not entitlement, but that sense of belonging, that sense of like neededness, what does that what does that give you, I guess, at the end of the day?
I guess just like satisfaction, like knowing that I like did something that felt important, or like even just like something silly. Like I the other day I was like playing Legos with this kid who I hadn't really interacted with much, and he was just like loving it. Like we had like a really fun time, and I just like went home with like a smile on my face and was like feeling super happy. And yeah, I guess it was just like really satisfying to know that no matter how little, like I just feel like I put a smile on that kid's face a day, and that's like a really good feeling, I guess. And before I just was like, not really getting opportunities to do that, and I just was really bothering me.
Yeah, that sounds like you know when you're talking, it sounds like it definitely made your day, and even talking now about it, like because it's in the past, you can tell that you're still happy that you brought some type of like fulfillment into that child's life and also a little bit into yours. And I was just thinking that you know, when we're looking at that feeling of feeling needed at work, or like fulfillment and satisfaction, what does that look like from your placement? What does that look like, I guess, in other areas of your life? So when you do have a good day at work and you do feel like you succeeded, how does that affect your outside of work life?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm just more able to like enjoy myself. Like I definitely am the kind of person like that sort of stuff influences really easily. So, you know, um, I feel like one good day at practicum, I come home and it's like, oh, I love Vancouver. It's so fun here. And then, one bad day of practicum, it's like, oh my God, why did I do this? Like, was this a bad idea? Should I have like advocated for myself more and like gotten a different practicum? So I for sure do feel like when I have those good days, like it just makes my whole day great and it just validates my decision to like come here, I think. And then maybe when I'm like not having a great day there, it's like it really kind of makes me like feel like people are going to question why I moved here or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And looking at that in the sense of when you have a good day at practicum, and it definitely influences your day and influences things outside of your work life. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
guess what are some strengths to that in terms of how we could maybe make that more often? Because I notice, like, like personally speaking, I know that with you, when you have a good day at work and you've done something great with a child or a youth, it really beams and shows throughout your day.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe just like I guess just acknowledging that that is how I am, and in that case, that means like I actually need to like kind of look for opportunities for that rather than just maybe hoping that they'll come to me. I need to like actively look for opportunities.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. Is like being aware um, that you have to actively look for those moments so that you can keep utilizing that, especially to make things easier in terms of your move, and ultimately you didn't really enjoy this practicum, but finding little bits of hope within it. But when we as we're talking about your practicum, and I'm just thinking about last week in terms of career wise, you're really hesitant about if um, this is what you wanted, like child and youth care, and ultimately specializing in child protection. Is that still something that's been on your mind?
A little bit. I know, like, just kind of as we were talking, and I was saying, like, how I am such a drastic person where, like, one good day, and then it's like gung ho, and one bad day, and it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? So with like last week, I feel like I just had a rough week with practicum. I was really questioning like, you know, is this a good placement for me? Which then was like making me question, is this what I even want? So like now that I've had a pretty good week with practicum, I feel like I know that child and youth care is what I want, but I definitely still question whether child protection is what I want. Like that one is consistent with me. So I think like that is something really worth looking at because that doesn't just go away if I have a good day.
Yeah, and I know, you know, personally speaking, I know that child protection is always something that you've enjoyed. Is that something that your parents also have, you know, wanted for you as well?
Um, I don't know, like maybe to a certain extent, like my dad is, well, both my parents are, but particularly my dad takes like a really big interest in my education, and I think just like the fact that I was like willing to do something like child protection that is so like I just have mad respect for like any social worker. I just think that you know they put themselves in positions every day to be, vulnerable, and I just have a lot of respect for that. And so I guess for me, like, saying that I was going to be doing something like that, I feel like gained me some respect maybe in my family too, or like even for myself.
Mm-hmm. And like talking about giving like some feeling of respect and stuff like that. How has that been feeling for you now as you've been questioning it?
Yeah, like definitely I feel like, oh, like, would I be, oh, I don't know, that's like such a good question. I don't really know how to explain it, but definitely like not, I haven't like lost respect for myself for it, but just like I just thought it was this really amazing thing to do, and then to like wonder if I actually do want to do it has been strange. It's like, maybe that like I'm not as amazing as I was thinking I was going to be, or maybe I'm not as tough and strong as I thought I was.
Yeah. So, talking about your I guess your desire and your like goal for child protection for so long, and then we talked about how that really impacted your ideas around because of practicum not being in child protection. That kind of made you question if child protection was what you wanted to do. I
Yeah.
guess, do you find that your like the lack of ability to do child protection in your practicum has kind of impacted your decision or your thought process about child protection?
I honestly don't really know like where that is coming from. Like probably a big aspect of it is like I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. Like, fourth year practicum, like you have to know if you want to do child protection, right? Because you're going to be put in that agency, and then that gets you your specialty. So for me, like this was kind of my opportunity to like get a taste of it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and see if it's what I wanted. And like now that I haven't been able to do that, I'm like I don't know if I can like actually make that commitment and do that for fourth year.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're kind of at a crossroad of what to do, and that's really starting to affect not just your career or your education, but also your personal, I guess, self thoughts and your how you perceive yourself in terms of that. Does that sound? Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, you're totally on the right track. Like I definitely do think I like to see myself as like really tough or like really strong, and then to me like social workers like are the ultimate tough strong people. And so like identifying myself with that like really made me feel that way, and like now to kind of pull myself away from that is like taking away my strength and like taking away my toughness almost.
Okay, so I guess something that we can start, um, diving into and exploring is your strengths and assessing those in terms of because you just like we just talked about how um, you identified with child protection and identified with social workers and connecting it as social workers and strength and respect, and that was something
Yeah.
that you felt, and it sounds like you're not really feeling that anymore because of not having that practicum in child protection.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, you nailed it for sure.
Okay, so thinking about some, I guess, some goals in terms of finding that passion or exploring exploring a different route. What would definitely benefit you as we move forward?
I think I'm a really analytical person. Like for me, when I come to a decision and I've made up my mind, like I totally trust myself. Like I 100% know at that point like what I want. So for me, like the fact that I'm even questioning child protection, like I take that super seriously. Um, and I definitely think like it is really worth looking at. And because of my tendency to really analyze things, I think maybe just like looking at other options would be a really good place to start. Like, for example, I like met a girl this week, and she goes to Adler University in Vancouver, and she's doing like counseling psychology there. And I looked into the university, and I was just like so motivated by the different programs and stuff that they offered, and I like again kind of like got that feeling of like purpose and like motivation. And I guess I just like want to find something that kind of gives me that, because for a long time, I guess like not only child protection gave me like perceived strength or whatever, but it also made me feel really purposeful.
Yeah, and I think that, talking about that feeling of purposeful and that strength, um, especially within, that feeling you got from child protection, and I guess the lack of that you're getting right now in terms of your practicum, I guess, how could we um, gain that strength and that purposefulness within your practicum throughout this year, because it is a full year practicum.
Yeah.
Is there any things, I guess, in the past that made you, that helped at this time, like at times like these, where you felt like you were losing your strength or purpose?
Um. Yeah, I guess just like doing more things that made me feel that way. So like kind of like we mentioned earlier, just like looking for opportunities to gain that purpose, I think will really sort of like help me gain that back. But also like if I look for, like if I actually am interested in counseling psychology, like, you know, like these sessions sometimes, like after we talk and like it's my turn, I'll feel really like good about it. And then it makes me feel like, oh, like that was good. Like that was, purposeful or whatever. So yeah, like, I don't know. I guess I just like looking for those opportunities in specific places. So like, yeah, I've found it a little bit in counseling psychology. So I need to explore that and see if it is something like that I could actually see myself doing. And then I don't know. That's kind of harder to do though when it comes to child protection. I'm not going to go out and be some rogue social worker and
Yeah.
try to look for those opportunities.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I guess, thinking about opportunities and doing what makes you, like, gives you that feeling of purposefulness, um, and, reflecting on how these sessions, especially, because we do switch roles, how that does give you that feeling. Um, is there any ways for the time being, I guess, that would give you that sense of purposefulness while doing your practicum?
Um, Maybe like, because I know with practicum you have to, or you can choose between like doing like a legacy project, and so maybe for that I should do something that like is more purposeful, or is like kind of focused on like a counseling psychology sort of idea, or does that, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I think that would definitely, like, you know incorporating your desire and your that fulfillment of, counseling psychology and getting that, I guess, experience or dabbling in it per se, to help you know if that's the route that you want to take. Because as much as this is a time where, you feel like, we talked about you feeling that you're at a loss or crossroads, you do have the opportunity to explore while in this program, because it is our last year. So I guess,
Yeah.
do you think taking that time, to explore would help, I guess, give you that sense of purposefulness, give you that strength and, like, that positiveness for opportunities?
Totally, I totally think so. Like, it's gonna sound so nerdy, but like nothing makes, well, other things maybe have it too, but like it makes me so, it gives me those feelings to like really, once I've finished like a paper that I really am happy with, that they're really proud of. So like I guess like a legacy project, would like give me that, or like really just like getting myself motivated to kind of think outside the box of the program that that they place me in, and
Mm-hmm.
like bringing my own tools to it would be really good. I just have to like actually motivate myself to do that because it is extra work. But if it's gonna provide me with answers, then I definitely think it's worth it.
Yeah, so like as you said, it is more work, but do you think that that would, I guess, be a potential goal worth exploring, um, over the next week in terms of your practicum?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Um, yeah, I think that's super helpful to kind of just maybe just like actually take a look at it because right now it feels like this big like huge thing that like takes so much work and it's just really hard to get started on it when you're feeling like that. So just kind of like baby stepping it and like just checking it out and kind of a little bit exploring it would be helpful.
Yeah. So, just reviewing, I guess, our sessions so far, we talked a little bit about how your practicum and how your week went and how practicum you did have a good day with a child, building Lego, and that felt gave you a sense of fulfillment and purposefulness, and that you brought that throughout
Yeah.
the rest of your day. Um, and we talked a little bit about how your career and that feeling of respect and that feeling of strength in terms of social work and like counseling psychology, and maybe exploring that instead of trying to find that fulfillment in counseling psychology versus child protection. um,
Yeah.
would you say that that would summarize what the topics this week?
Yeah, totally. I think you nailed it.
Okay. So going forward, just thinking about the strengths, um, and the strengths around those things, I guess, what would be a good goal, as we move forward for the week, for you to explore while looking at, taking going into your practicum and your practicum, and even outside into your actual career of child and youth care?
I think maybe like looking at the syllabus for the practicum course because I've been avoiding it. So like looking at it and just seeing like where my opportunities are to do like a project, and then kind of seeing like looking at what, or maybe, and then just like going to practicum and seeing like also where the opportunities are there, and then coming up with something that you know would work there.
Yeah. So I think, looking at your practicum syllabus and, looking at the project might help, give you that sense of motivation, or even, give you a little bit of motivation, and maybe help start to, create that feeling of purposefulness and feeling like you're fulfilling something. Because I know, like you said before, and even personally, that you do get a sense of fulfillment when you finish a paper, or you do really well on something, or, any big activity like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll like make it go from like this huge big thing that I have to do to something that I actually like want to do.
Okay. So, do you think, utilizing that goal of looking at the syllabus and figuring out in terms of the project would help, throughout this week give an idea of what we can work towards?
Yeah, I think that's a really good goal for the week.
Okay. Just wrapping up, is there anything that, you want to mention or ask or talk about?
Oh, I don't think so. That was like some good clarity for me, and now I know like a good place to start. So that's good.
Okay. Well, I guess we will wrap up, and I'll, see you next week. And I hope you have a good week.
Okay, thanks, Haley. You too.
Thanks. Bye.